Give me a second. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, think because I clicked back. Last. Mm, mm, mm.
Sir, Amrit here. Okay. So, sir, this is actually what that robot is doing. So, sir, like performer. Okay. So, it's a process, or like you're talking about the noun that robot is doing right now? Okay. Performer process. Okay. Okay, sir. Got it, sir. Okay. 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 Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Dispatcher now. Okay. Got it, sir. Yeah.
Vajra, yeah. So let's say, for example, if I have a share folder where I want to put this file, and the moment I will put this file, dispatcher process should get trigger. Is that possible? Hmm. Okay. Um, mhm. In queues. Okay. But I can't see any file trigger option in console, yeah, in orchestrator. Mm-hmm. So do we have any other option like email trigger or file trigger in orchestrator? Mm-hmm. Okay. I was thinking that since we are using community edition, so that is why we don't have such kind of trigger. In uh, Oh, okay, 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 okay. Mm. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
No need. No need.
Okay. Okay. Correct. Mm. Yes. Mm. Yeah. No.
No.
Mm. Mm.
Default. Uh, data row. Okay. Q item. Okay. Okay. Variable type. Okay. Right.
Get
Get
transaction.
Yes.
Get
get
transaction.
transaction.
Process. End process. Yes.
To upload to the orchestrator like queue items.
In Excel.
Queues.
My audio. Yep. Okay. So right now the data is in data table in the Excel.
Right.
Okay. Now, if you remember the previous workflow, day 2 or day 3 workflow. Okay, without queues. So what are we taking? Open browser, open success, downloading the Excel file, read the Excel file and clicking start button. Remove this start button, but what do we want? Click on next row. Next row is available. What is this next row? Excel row, right?
Excel row. Yeah.
Get row to process, and instead of adding or updating this particular item, we will add it to orchestrator queue.
Yes.
So now tell me in this flow, what are we doing? In this flow, we are starting a browser, okay? Now,
Yeah. Download it
how many times do we need to download an Excel file?
one time.
One time.
Is it enough to download one
Answer.
time? So can we
Yes.
keep it in first run of init?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah. Sure.
next. So read range. How many times do we need to read the range?
One time.
One time.
So there is no need to update this one, right?
Right.
Now add items to queue. Where do we need to add this item to queue?
Get transaction.
Get transaction data will get an item. Add queue items will
No.
add item to our orchestrator. So that is the main activity. Why will you do that in get transaction?
Okay.
That will be in init.
No, init process is only to read it, right? See, that's why I
Mm.
said that you will be confused. Now, in the first run, we are not adding items.
Yes.
Our
This is the
process
separate.
is our process is to add the items. So, see, I'm repeating that our process is to add the items. So this is the main activity. For every row, it need to add the item.
Mm.
Okay.
So add items to queue should be in.
Process.
Okay. Now we have add items to queue in process state. Read range in here. But where are we getting one item at a time?
Get transaction.
From the queue. From the queue.
Okay. So dispatcher process will add items to queue, will not get the items from queue.
So there is no transaction here, I think. Right.
Think again. There is transaction item.
Sure. Uh, So we are adding a bulk,
Okay.
right? We are adding a bulk queue items at a
Let's
time.
change this bulk queue items. Let's add only one queue at a time.
Okay, then rearrange.
So if there are 10 files, again, going back to basics, if there are
Get
10
yeah,
files, what will
okay.
be transaction item out of 10 files?
So the first
Oh,
one file.
first row.
Every file will be a transaction item.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If there are 100 queue items, what will be transaction item?
So 100 files which are present here.
100 queue items which are currently right now available to process is, so out of 100 you will get only one file or one queue item to process. Is it right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
So that is our queue transaction item. Now in this read range, what are we going to get out of this read range? Data
Data
table.
table.
Data
Data table.
table.
So what data table
Yes,
can
sir.
contain?
The data table will
Data.
contain rows of data.
rows of data. So one row, can we take it as one transaction item?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's go back here. We already have this image. So what are we
Right.
going to get?
Next row.
True in presence.
Check if the next row is available. Okay. So here we will check next row available. So for the first time when it checks for next row available, will it be successful or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So every time it's getting a next row. So first it will, for the first time it will get the first row. Second time it will get the second row, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir. After 100th only it will stop because there won't be
Exactly.
any rows.
Exactly. So next row is available. Then, okay, we'll add items to queue. What if next row is not available?
Go to end process.
We'll close the browser. Is it right? So if there are no items to upload to queue, do we need to keep the browser open?
No, sir.
No.
There is one more thing that I would like to tell. We opened the browser, we downloaded the Excel. So after downloading Excel, do we need to have this browser available or not till the end of the process? Is there any activity that we are doing?
With the browser, no, sir.
No. So can we add this close browser also inside first run? How many times do we need to close the browser?
Once, sir, after we have downloaded the Excel.
So can I just say that after uh, downloading the Excel, can I just map it like this? Because I have downloaded the Excel, I don't need this particular browser anymore.
Right, right, right.
Okay. So why do I need it? See, we can keep our code anywhere, but having a correct logic and saying that this is where we need to keep it because of these reasons is what will help you. Okay. So we downloaded the browser. After we download the browser, what are we doing? So let's go
Uh,
ahead and delete this, and let's go ahead and delete this. So after closing the browser, can we read the range directly?
Right.
Because the Excel
okay.
file is already available for us, right?
Yes, sir.
But why are we closing only after download Excel?
So because after that there is no work for the browser. So
So other than that, if you close before downloading the Excel, then why are you opening the browser?
mm,
You are opening the browser to download the Excel.
that's the only purpose. After
Yes,
that, we would close it.
exactly. So there is no other reason to have it,
Yes, sir.
right? So next row is available, then you are adding row item to queue. If that is done in the end process, do we need any other activity?
Close Excel, I think.
Close Excel. See, if you are using read range, yeah, you can do that. Close
Yeah.
Excel or kill Excel. So kill browser. So if close Excel is having an issue, then you can use these two in kill process. So kill process is separate. Uh, so here we'll add something called close successful. So if the close is successful, do we need to kill anything? You're trying to close a browser and browser closed properly without any issue. Is there any other activity that you need to do now?
No, sir.
But what if it didn't close? What do we need to do?
Retry.
Sir, you're talking about in the init if it would not close.
Not in the init. Here in the init, we already closed it. See,
Yes, sir.
closed it, that's fine, that's completed. If you don't, if you're not able to close it here, then obviously it will throw error. Maybe you can write try catch only for this to
Yes,
avoid
sir.
close browser. And see, our target is to download the Excel. It is completed. If it is completed, for closing the browser, we cannot stop the complete process, right?
Yeah.
True, sir.
So our target is to
Sir,
download the Excel and to place it. Okay, let me explain this one more time. Here we are starting the process. We are opening a browser to navigate, downloading the Excel. So after downloading the Excel, do we need a browser, same browser or not?
no, sir.
No.
You
Not
would
required.
close it.
We are closing it. So if we close this browser and if it is having any error, can we continue with the process or should we stop?
We can continue, sir. There is no other work for the browser, so it won't
Exactly.
affect.
Exactly. So we can ignore closing of this browser.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
even if it throws an error, we can ignore it.
Yes, sir.
But read range is throwing an error. Should we continue or should we exit?
We should exit, so that is the main purpose of the whole.
Exactly. Since we are reading the range, if the read range itself is an error, can we proceed further? We cannot proceed further, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's how we need to think. Okay. So after adding items to queue, what it should do? It should go for the next item.
Right.
Okay. So see the loop here. We started with this image, download the Excel, read range, add items to queue and close it. Now see our image. Is this having more in detail values?
Yes.
Okay. Now here we are saying that okay, if there is a data, okay, then we are adding it to data row. What if there is no data or we didn't get a row? Then what we need to do?
Then process.
We can end process. We can directly go with close Excel and we can end the process. Okay. Okay. See now. Yes. Okay. Can you please, Amrit, can you please explain me with the process from the beginning? Just see the picture and explain. That should be fine.
Just a minute, sir. So, in the start, we opening the browser,
Mhm.
and from there, we downloading the Excel, which is supposed to be uploaded. And once we have done with the downloading of the Excel file, we're closing the browser.
Yes.
After that, we're reading the Excel file. That means we are taking the Excel file into a data table, and after that, we get into the get transaction state,
Mhm.
in which we are checking if there is a row available or not. If yes, we are adding the row to the queue. If no, we are closing the Excel file. This would happen after the completion of all the data rows. For example, in that last case, we saw 100 rows were there. So after 100 rows, would our transaction would be yes, and we would go to close Excel. After close Excel, so could you scroll it down? Yeah. So the close would be successful, and then we would kill all the process, which includes the Excel and killing the browser.
Okay. Now, to everyone, were you able to understand this flow or not?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
Okay. Now here
But
we will. Anju,
can
tell
I
me.
ask clarification?
Tell me.
So what would be the best practice? Either the bulk upload or to do each row wise to the
See,
queue?
bulk upload can do only 100 items at a time. What if you have
Mhm.
10,000 rows?
Okay. Okay. Understand.
And moreover, you need to get a transaction value of each and every item. We want
Mm.
every item to be uploaded, and even before uploading, see, there can be multiple logics that we can place in. Before
Mm.
adding it to queue, okay. So can we just check? Let's go ahead and see the input first. Input.xlsx. Now the business asked me, don't add all the items to orchestrator queue. If
Okay.
the item is analyst, then ignore that particular row.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Role in company. Now the business is asking me to have a business rule over here.
Okay. Understand.
Okay. Now what I can always do is I can check in the process state directly. Here in the process state, before adding the items to queue, I can just write in condition. So what condition does it have?
Mm. Check role
The
equal to
column contents list.
Okay.
Particular row contents
Row of
list.
role in
Row
company not equal to
list.
okay. Now when we are adding this particular logic, that role not equal to this one, now the condition in the process gets increased, or the data to be processed in this particular flow gets increased.
Okay.
Okay, see here. Now this became true. So what if it is false? If this is actually an analyst, what it should do?
Skip to the next row.
So can we directly map it like this? So can we directly take it like this?
Yes.
Okay. So we are keeping, so see, suddenly business asked me to create a business rule. Now what if I don't add this separately in a separate states? What will happen?
We'll have to redo it, at least the process.
It's not redoing. Basically, we will not be able to have a structured way of editing the things. If there is some query that need to be addressed, I will only change in the process state. I will not go into end process, or I will not go into init to add the logic.
Okay. Understand.
Okay.
Okay.
See, think this as a project than only to solve your solution.
Okay.
It should be robust as well as future ready.
Okay.
Now in our code, see, one thing that immediately that you need to do whenever you're changing the transaction item is, so what is the transaction item now here?
Data row as a part is.
Data row.
Right.
Okay, so transaction item, we are mentioning that the transaction item is data row. So can we go ahead and change the variable type to data row?
Yes.
Because we are not using any file path, right? We are using only data rows.
Right.
Okay. Now this transaction number, if you observe, from which index does data row will come? For example, what is the first index of a data row?
1.
0. So
Okay.
anytime indexes will start from 0th index. At 0th position, we'll have the first row. At first index, we'll have the second row.
Okay.
So what is the first index that we need to go with?
0.
0. Okay. So can we just check in the notes like what we have done, because that's important. Files, team notes. I have updated few things yesterday. I hope you have seen that. But this particular document will be very useful for you. I haven't done in the previous teams. I used team notes, but this is getting easier for you. So let's go ahead and open it in browser. Okay. So here we go, day 6, 7, day 8. So this is 20th Jan. Okay. Let's have it like this. So what are we discussing today? Convert RE framework to use data rows. So what is the first step that we are doing? Please tell me.
Sir, opening the browser and downloading the Excel file.
Okay. Now we are talking about RE framework. What are the changes that you are making in RE framework to make sure that you use data rows? The first change that we
The
made is
transaction data type,
transaction
transaction item data
item
type we
data
have
type should
converted
be changed to data row. Change.
data row.
Change transaction item data type data row in main variables, right? Ajay, please keep yourself in mute. Thank you. Okay. So next, what did we do? Transaction number changed to 0. Is it right?
Transaction number index changed to 0.
It's not index, it's transaction number. Okay. So transaction number. Are we changing the data type? So initial default value will be 0. Okay. Next. But if you observe closely, whenever we change those things, we have few errors. Can you see this? And can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whenever there is a change in transaction item, because these two items are using queues.
Right.
So that is the reason these two are throwing an error. Next, what we will do? Changes in get transaction data. So what is the change that we are going to do in get transaction data? Let's see. Here the transaction item is by default nothing, right?
Right.
So if even when we are using data rows, it will be nothing. But the problem that happened now is this is not able to bind directly to data row. So now what I can do is I can just remove it, click anywhere else and paste it back. Now this will be removed. Now data row is binded to nothing.
Okay.
Earlier, what is the transaction item?
Q item.
So Q item was nothing. Now data row is nothing.
Okay.
Okay, next error. Expand all. Here, can you see the same change required?
Right.
Control X, keep it outside and then paste it again. Done. So we have error it here. So what is the argument?
Data row.
If there is a argument type, then
Workflow.
okay, data row transaction data, get transaction data workflow. What do we need to do?
Change
Change.
item.
Okay. So what do we need to do in the arguments? We need to change in transaction item. See again, everything that we are doing only on the transaction item variable, nothing else. Okay. Out transaction item. From here we are getting one queue at a time. Now what we will get? Can you observe?
One data row at a time.
Exactly. So here by default we are getting one queue at a time to process. Now we are going to get one data row at a time. Can I change this to data row?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the third change. Okay. Now after we change it again, till now there is no errors in this file. Now we have errors in this file also. Why? So get
So
transaction
the
item,
try catch must be.
get transaction item. What is the use of this particular item? This particular activity?
It will get the Q item from the orchestrator.
Do we need to get queue items from the orchestrator now?
No. No
No,
need.
sir.
Can we comment it out?
Right.
I can copy it as an image as well. Copy as image. So the next thing that we need to do is uh, comment out get queue item activity. Okay, I think it copied everything.
So third point will be in arguments, right? Mention
Yep.
main variables.
So let's also add image over here. Okay. So can we go to the next one?
Yes.
So comment out get queue item. This is done. Then what we need to do? So we need to get some data, or we need to get a data row out of it, right? So what is the purpose of get transaction item?
To get the queue item.
No, get the data row,
No,
data table.
no, is the row to get the row.
So instead of that, can we say get one item to process?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Are we getting an item to process here?
It is good.
We just commented out the code that will get the data, but now we don't have any data. So
So
it will
there is
not
no
return any data for us to
right,
process.
right.
Okay. Now, so here is the logic that we need to understand. Okay, let's go back to our flow. Okay, so what are we having here? Next row available or not?
Which
Is it right?
yes,
So how can we write this logic? Let's go out with a if condition. In the if condition, we need to check if the item is available or not to process. So what can we do?
it condition.
Okay, I'll give you a hint. So let's also check with the arguments. So we had in transaction number here. So what is the default in transaction number that we have added?
0.
0, sir.
And we also have transaction data. So this transaction data is our data table, right? Complete data table.
Right.
So can we give something like this? Let's assign a value. Okay, in this assign, can we say out transaction item is equal to in IO transaction data dot what it will contain rows of in transaction number. Let's map it again, then we'll be able to understand. Okay. So what is this get transaction data completely?
Complete data table.
Complete data table. So out of this complete table, what are we getting out?
Rows of
All the
G,
rows.
all the rows. Right.
Out of all the rows, which row are we going to get?
First row 0.
0. For now, this
Right.
is first row. But what
Mm.
if we are coming in for the second time?
It has to increase.
It has to be incremented. Like the transaction number, by now it is 0.
Yeah.
The next time it should be
1.
1.
next time it should be 1, next time it should be 2,
Right.
2 and 3. Is it right?
Yes.
Now till how many times will it increment?
10 times.
Okay, what if you don't know the number?
So the number of data
Of
files
the rows.
minus 1, it will.
First of all, we can get the rows.
Exactly. Okay, so this will give me only a row at a time at a particular index, at a index. Okay, so now from here, what are we going to get?
First row.
Again, it's not first row. It's 0th index, first index, second index, third index, fourth index, fifth index, sixth index, 7 and 8 and 9. So how many do we have? 9. Now, if we go with 10, what will happen?
So it will check if there's a data table available or not, and then it would end the processes.
But simply when you're trying or when you pick some item that's not available, will it not throw an error?
Yes, sir, it would.
Because the data itself is not available, right? You're
Yeah,
getting transaction data of rows of 10, but the ninth index is 11th index itself is not available.
yes, sir, that would be exception then.
Next. So how to avoid this exception?
N minus one, I
So,
guess we can.
so should we add another condition checking that if that n plus one is a data row available or not?
So can we use this if condition for that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's add some annotations to this and let's clearly explain what are we trying to do. Now, uh, can we get total rows out of the table?
Yes.
Okay. Total rows of transaction data. Okay. So if we are going to get total rows of transaction data, then what will we get? In this particular use case, how many rows will we get?
So we'll get 10 rows.
10 rows. So what if we have 100 rows? Or what is the transaction data count? Row count?
100.
100.
100 will be a row count. Yes,
Yes.
sir. And navigation we'll have to minus one and start from zero.
So can we say that if transaction number, if it is less than uh, row count, can we proceed to get the item?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can proceed.
If the see, the error only we are getting if the transaction number is equal to the row
Yes, sir.
count or greater than. But if it
Yes,
is
sir.
less than, we can get the value.
Yeah.
Correct, sir.
So first we'll get 0 and this
0.
is less than 10. So we'll get a value. And second it will be 1 and it will be less than 10. Then we'll get a value. And in the same way till 9 we will check and we will say that it's less than 10 and we'll get a value. But 10th one, if it is less than 10, this is false. Now when this is false, what's happening? No item is getting out.
Yeah.
Okay. So by default, there will be no item and this will be nothing. Okay. So can we write something like this? In transaction number should be less than IO transaction data dot row count.
Yes.
Okay. Now what will happen? Every time it's checking with a number, first it will come with 0 till 9 it will increment and then it will pick one item and then it will add it. Now if it failed, then it will not send any item. That's it. Can we write that logic as well? Show else. So here we have transaction out transaction item equal to this one. Can we just write if it is anything else? Can we send
No.
that this is nothing?
Right.
Because we cannot send any data.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste. Now, is it available? So every time do you need to use this particular way or to update this? No, if we are already having this data row templates already available, like how we have how we have queue item with UiPath. If you go with this one, home templates, robotic enterprise framework with data table we have. So let's check with all. Let's see. Okay, we have RE framework for mail message data, RE framework, advanced RE framework. Okay, and enhanced RE framework, retry enhanced RE framework. So everyone created their own ways of RE framework. Okay, but the main idea is the structure will be same, only the logic that you get the data will be different. Let's add it to the code. Let's continue with this, then you will have further information later. We are extending our class today, but this is important. Please stay. We'll be able to complete it. Add code to get one row as transaction item. Okay, can you understand this logic now? First, we commented out the code that we don't want, then we updated the code that we want.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now can we see if there is any error further? Do we have any error?
No, sir.
Everything is done. Let's go back to
Yes, sir.
main. Okay, here one thing that can happen. See, whenever you want to change arguments, you need to change it only while opening the workflow. You cannot change it outside. Like there will be an option for you to change it here, but this will not work. Okay, now can you see this out transaction item? Since we changed the data table, the value assigned is changed now. So what is this out transaction item?
Transaction item.
This is still a transaction item. Okay, so we change the transaction item to data row, and we are also getting from here a data row. So this will match. Okay, so are we having any errors over here?
No.
Okay, now how many more errors do we need to solve? This one, process transaction data. Okay, see what is the error? Transaction item value data row cannot be converted into core queue item. So is this the same error?
Same.
Okay, can we write changes in process workflow? Okay, so what are the changes in process workflow? Open process workflow. So same thing. Arguments. Can we change this particular in transaction item to queue item to data row? Because that is the by default we are changing, right? From the beginning, we are changing it to data row only.
Right.
So I'll copy these two and I'll paste it over here. But instead of in argument, and this will be in underscore transaction item. Okay, now this will be changed, right? See, all I'm trying to do is I did only one activity, that in the main file I changed the transaction item to data row. Later, whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to correct the workflow so that the errors are not available. Okay, don't think that how can I find that this is the place I need to change it. You're getting errors. Go ahead and correct the errors. If you correct the errors, things will work. Okay, do we need attached browser in process flow?
No.
No.
Now go back. What do we need to have in process?
Um, Add the row to the queue.
Is it right? Adding row to the queue. Now let's
Yes.
go ahead and add the row to the queue. So what activity can we use over here? Can we use bulk queue items, bulk add queue items?
No.
No, no.
Add queue item.
Why can't we use bulk add queue items? We just need to know the reason as well. This is accepting a data table,
Right.
okay, but all we have is a data row.
Right.
Properties. So what is the queue name?
BC
Process ABC queue item.
process
You
ABC
cannot
queue.
have it like that, right? That's already there in config.
Yeah, in config of what is it?
Orchestrator queue name.
Orchestrator queue.
Okay. So close this one. Okay, let's have it. Data config. Orchestrator queue name. Dot toString. I think we can keep it later as well. Let's first correct the process and then let's come back to this. Okay. So now let's see if the error got resolved or not. Main import arguments. So what is it saying? Now there are no errors. Why don't we have errors? Because we updated this transaction item to data row. Okay. We'll add the logic later, but first we'll correct the workflow. Okay. Now we did this. Still we have these errors. What are these errors? Open
Same.
workflow. So is this still having an error? Transaction item.
Yeah.
So for our time right now, let's go ahead and comment out this particular activity. We are not setting any transaction data. We are continuing. That's it. Okay. So, okay. I'll tell you what will happen if we don't comment it out. Control Z. So what we normally need to do, go into this particular workflow and change data row arguments. Is this what we need to do?
Yes.
Transaction item is data row. See how many more errors did we get now?
3 errors.
We need to solve each and every error. But let's go
Yes.
back to main, import. So what is the transaction item here?
Queue item also.
This transaction item is still transaction item. You need to map it properly.
Yeah, okay. Value items.
Transaction item will still be transaction item. That's what you need to see. You need to map it properly. Now again we have error here. Let's click on this. Still same error.
Down.
Transaction item is
Transaction item.
transaction item. Okay, done. Now even here this is the same error. So what are the things that we are doing? Can we just write a note? All this is in progress, right? In progress workflow. Can you see? that everything is in main file and in process state. So till now what we did, we changed it get transaction data workflow, we commented out queue item activity. Okay, now add code. So this is also inside add queue item or get transaction data workflow. Now we are working in we changed that in process. Now where are we changing? We are changing in main workflow. So here we did 3 changes, right? What are the 2 changes that we did earlier in main workflow? In main workflow, did we change the transaction number? Please unmute. I'm not able to understand if you are able to here take the things or not. If not, let's
Yeah,
close. If not, let's close it today and tomorrow we'll connect again. That's fine.
you have changed it.
Okay, let's do one thing. I'll comment out the things that are not required. Okay, will still update. So here we have process state. We are still having issues in this, right? In this set transaction status.
Right.
So I'm just commenting out everything and disable activity. So there are no more errors in this.
Sir,
Yep.
sir, actually, I have a doctor's appointment now, so could
Yeah,
I
you can
just?
leave. You can leave, Amrit. It's recording, right? You can take.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Let's quickly check if we have any errors or not. How can we check if there are any errors or not? Analyze file, validate project. Do we have any errors?
No.
Okay. Let's go ahead and quickly add our logic in here. So all the changes that we require are completed. So where should we add the code to update items to orchestrator?
The process.
In the
Exactly.
process.
Add queue item, properties. So we are getting orchestrator queue name as well, right? Now,
Yes.
here in this item information collection, this actually accepts a dictionary, but let's give it in this one, item information. So I'll give only 2 for now, but later we can change it. So what are we going to do? First name, we'll give first name. So this can be anything. This need not be the same column name, but I'm just mentioning it so that it will be systematic over complete process. So are we getting in transaction item as data row?
Yes.
Can we take it from column level? First name will give me the first this current row column item,
Right.
and after first name can I go with phone number, or let's go with analyst role in company.
Okay.
So same in transaction item of
Rule in company.
the role in company dot toString. Okay, now will it add all the items to queue or not?
No.
Why it will not add?
We have mentioned only 2 columns, right? Name, first name and rule and company.
Exactly, but it will add all rows.
Yeah.
Okay, can we run the flow now? Let's see
Yes.
with running the flow. So I will also open my orchestrator. Let's see if we can open it. So what is it throwing an? Why is it throwing an error? Let's stop it. And do we need bulk add queue items or not?
No, we don't need.
We don't need, right? Let's go continue. So execution trail highlight log elements. Okay, debug. So here is my workspace, queues. We don't have anything here. Let's go with this process ABC queue. So can we see process ABC queue here? View transactions. Let's delete everything. Remove. Yes. So how many new items do we have now? No new items are available. Let's see. This is opening a browser, initializing applications, clicking on start button. Do we need this workflow actually?
That will be needed in the next.
Just a second. Let it run. Let's wait. So it came till here, but we haven't written code to close the browser and all. Okay. So do we need the browser now or not? Do we need the browser?
No need.
So let's close it. So let's see what is there in transaction item. Can you see the details?
Yeah.
Okay. And let's do a step into reference is required for unique item. So reference is required because in my queue items, I mentioned while creating this orchestrator queue, I mentioned that I need a reference for this unique item. View transactions or properties, edit. So can you see that I enabled unique reference over here?
Yes.
Okay. So what we can do is, can we take mobile number as unique reference
Hmm.
for this workflow or for this particular use case? Let's take mobile number as unique reference.
Okay.
So phone number, let's take it up, close. So here is the reference, right? In transaction item of phone number dot toString. Okay. So here we will also keep a breakpoint in this particular place if condition, then we will see. Let's go and debug. So when we understood in the beginning, we just thought that if we just create a separate workflow, that should be enough. Is it right? Is that the idea of everyone in the team? Or did you really think that this is the biggest this is the big process that we need to redo it again? What was your idea? Ajay, you're speaking. I'm not able to hear you. Anju, you unmute and talk.
This is the core process that we need to do. Standard process, I think. I mean, yeah,
Exactly. We can also keep one workflow and say that, okay, read
yeah,
the Excel and upload bulk items, right?
right.
With just two steps or two
Right.
activities. Even that will work.
Yeah.
But this is the way how you need to do it correctly. Okay, now let's see what is the transaction number.
0 again.
0. And let's go step into. So the transaction number is less than data row count, right?
Right.
So it's picking up an item. Okay. So what's happening? We got how many items now? Our transaction item is. Did we get one item?
Yes.
Okay. Continue. Step into. Now let's see if we have the item or not. View transactions. Do you have an item?
Yeah.
So when we execute it for the next time, then will we get a new item?
Yes.
Okay, let's quickly see. I bet that it will throw an error. How many of you will bet against me?
Mm,
Okay, now see, step into. So what is the transaction number? Okay, so our transaction item.
So we did not add that count increment count.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is still 0. We haven't
Yeah.
incremented this count.
Right. Right. Right.
Okay, so for that what we will do, we'll add it after completing the process. So here in the process transaction state, after completing this, we have finally here, right?
Yeah.
Let's add a send statement. So do we need to increment this one?
Transaction number.
Transaction number equal to.
Number plus 1. Transaction number.
So if you observe, we are getting the same number. We haven't incremented this one.
So you are taking item.
Okay, transaction number. Now will it increment after every item? See, we are processing the item. Okay. After processing the item, we are incrementing the item, incrementing the number.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Let's go ahead and do it. Or we can also do it in the exit phase as well. Step into. See, there are different places where we can write it. Uh,
We
let's.
can try it after add queue item also, right? This transaction in the increment
Yeah,
value.
yeah, we can write it, but that's not the place where we increment it normally. We should not increment
Okay.
there
Okay.
because there we are taking it as an in argument, right? In transaction number. We are not sending it out. So though it's
Right.
incremented inside, it will not come out.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm just writing it in the exit. Okay. So what it does, process transaction, it will process an item. After completing the item, what it will do?
Increment the value.
Okay. So let's go ahead. Now this will still throw an error. Why? See, this is like a chess game. You always need to understand in your brain what can be the next move. So, did we enable unique reference in orchestrator queue?
Yes.
Now, is the first item already added into orchestrator queue?
Yeah.
Now, when we are executing this for the second time, will we get the same item to process?
Same item.
This reference. This is at the 0th index, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, while working on the code, it's taking only the data table.
Okay.
In data table, by default, it is still the reference item.
See.
Okay, so whenever you stop and execute, it's reading from the data table, which is static. It's not dynamic value, right?
Right.
So this will throw an error. Why?
It has a duplicate reference, same reference number it will have.
Exactly. So let's see what will happen if it has an error. Step into, it's having an error. It's trying to catch item. So where is it going to?
Exception, system exception.
It's an exception, system exception. Now it's trying to handle it. So let's assume that it handled because we commented out the exception handling. Let's assume that this handled.
Okay.
Okay, this is the exception. Step into, sequence came out. So if you see here, invoke process creating duplicate reference error. Okay, step into, step into. So this will come out. So what will happen after completing the process?
It will increment the number.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and increment the number. Continue. So what happened for the next time? What will happen for the next time? Step into. So now which item are we getting? Transaction number is?
1,
Earlier, what was the transaction number?
0,
When we execute for the next run, then what will be the transaction number?
2.
Exactly. Continue. Now will it throw an error or not?
Yes, it will throw the error.
It will not.
Why?
Because we have only one item here. The second item is not added to orchestrator.
Okay.
Now it's adding the second item.
Okay.
Continue. Now, are we eliminating duplicate values here? We are not adding the same data multiple times in the orchestrator, right?
Yeah.
Are we doing that or not? If you observe, when we try to execute, stop and execute it, earlier we were just duplicating all the items. So if this item is already available, robot will still add the same item again. Now are we adding the same items again and again or not?
No, we are not adding.
So are they unique values now?
Yes.
So let's assume that this process executed in 10 different machines. So still we will have only one item, a unique item. Is it right or not? Let's say that this process I moved it or I given to Ajay and Anju and I also execute at the same time. Whoever uploads the item first, the item will be available. For others, it will be duplicate error.
Okay.
Okay, continue. So let me just remove the breakpoints, show breakpoints, delete. Yes, continue. So let's see and complete this particular flow. How many items are added now?
4 items.
Let's wait and let's continue. 5 items are added. 6. There can be a question like why can't we just add 2 items and it's very fast. Bulk add queue items, I can add 100 items. I know all the process steps, so it will not increase further. So what can be your answer for that? This, if this is an interview question, why are you going with RE framework? Why can't you just add 2 items? Because that's more easier, right? I can complete it within 10 minutes.
Right.
Then what could be your answer? See, we cannot implement business logic over there. If there is any error that we have, can we handle it? No.
No.
There is no predefined structure.
H.
Exactly. But if we
Yeah.
have this one, even if I want any business logic to be added, I can just go ahead and add it. The structure is already available. The code is already available. There is very limited changes that I need to make.
Yeah.
Okay. Now when I execute again, all the items will throw error only. It will not add again.
H.
Now all the items are available. So we have 10 items, right? Do we have 10 items in here?
Yeah.
So when we execute for the second time, will it still add more items? Let's see.
It won't add, I think. Won't add.
So what is the error that you are going to get?
Duplicate reference number.
Exactly. And that system exception we didn't handle.
Right.
So it's taking up the item every time.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, let's stop. So now see, if we have this particular RA framework, then we will be able to handle and we will be able to add code as per our requirement. Okay, so that's it
We
for
can make
today.
it as template and we can use for other databases, right? Same.
Yeah, you can use. The template
Just
is
minus.
already available. Template is already
Right.
available in our marketplace. You can download and do it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, done for the day. And
Thank you, Vajram.
so, did I spoil your brain for today?
No, nothing, man. It's
See, I'm just being patient so that once you go out of this phase, then you will be very confident that, okay, this is very
right.
small thing that we need to do. Rather than thinking that, okay, this is like a nightmare for me, this is very small thing that we need to do. Push the code to Autism and then. So, Flavia, were you able to understand the flow?
uh, a little bit difficult for me
Expected.
because
Thank you so much
yes,
for being honest.
yes. Maybe after Monday I can cope up with all these things.
Yeah, we are doing only advanced concepts in here, right? See,
Yes.
the concepts are simple, but since this is new to you, this is a bit confusing. But someone like me can easily able to get the things.
Yes. But I can after Monday I can go through all these things. So if there is any doubt, I can ask.
Yeah.
Them.
So one suggestion I would like to give. See, I have only completed this document till process workflow, right? In
Yes.
process, what you need to do. Can you
Yes.
also add a few details that we missed, like incrementing, commenting out the set transaction status, incrementing the number? Can you do that?
Today or
Everyone, see, everyone will be able to access only one file. Just make sure
Yeah.
that don't create copies of it.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, done. So that's it for today. If you can give a quick feedback, then we can close it with that. Give a feedback and then leave, please. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it was a good session. Now I know what I need to work on.
Okay, something you missed out earlier.
Yeah, some of the things.
Mhm.
Now I know that which all areas I need to go and learn
Okay,
so that
great.
I'll be able to do.
Okay, great. What about Lakshmi Priya? Priyanka.
Vajrang, actually, I was missed the previous trainings, right? So I would like to go through that and then because it's new to me, the same way.
Okay.
Yeah, I have to go through that and then I can tell you.
Okay, Krishna. Krishna. Okay, Surabhi.
Yeah, Vajra, I'm able to relate the things in my projects. So yeah, it's good session.
Okay, guys, thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Yes, Vajra.